I think it was important to get to know her off the court because I do think that, connections, getting to know people really play a part in the success of teams.
Lexie Hull's career in the WNBA was almost over before it even started. After being drafted 6th overall by the Indiana Fever in 2022, many people expected her to come in and make an immediate impact.
In a previous interview, you talked about struggling throughout the season. So what changed and how are you able to turn the page so that the end of the season went a lot better?
This was a player who played a huge role in helping Stanford win a national championship, so expectations were sky high. But when she got to the WNBA, things didn't go as planned. For the first few games, she couldn't catch a break. And let's be honest, the Fever weren't exactly setting the world on fire either. At one point, they were sitting at 1-8. Not a great situation for anyone.
So you have basketball in your genes. Your grandfather played basketball, your dad, and you have a twin sister who you played basketball with growing up. What was it like growing up in that family dynamic?
Well, we have a super competitive family, and, having my dad play basketball collegiately, knew that basketball was going to be put in my hands at an early age, but my parents were, super excited about having us try every sport imaginable. So yeah, we grew up, my sister and I, playing a little bit of everything.
Lexie Hull couldn't seem to find her rhythm. She wasn't getting enough playing time, especially compared to players like Katie L. Samuelson and Christy Wallace. Fans started to question if she was just another overhyped draft pick. Being in the league is tough enough, but sitting on the bench while the team struggles? That's a whole other level of frustration. But don't worry, there was a hero on the way to turn things around. Caitlin Clark.
She's been called the clutch player by WNBA fans, and she was drafted to the W in 2022 with the Indiana Fever in the first round as the 6th pick. I'm talking about professional basketball player Lexie Hull.
When Caitlin Clark joined the team, everything changed. You could feel the energy shift instantly. The Fever went from being a mess to a team with real hope. And it wasn't just about her scoring, though, yes, she's great at that, but she brought a sense of purpose and direction. The Fever didn't just get a player, they got a leader, a superstar leader. It may sound like something out of a fairy tale, but it's not a coincidence. The Fever didn't just get lucky or magically turn things around. They started trusting Clark, following her lead, and that's when everything clicked. And guess who got caught up in that wave of greatness? Yep, Lexie Hull.
She's been called the clutch player by WNBA fans, and she was drafted to the W in 2022 with the Indiana Fever in the first round as the 6th pick. I'm talking about professional basketball player Lexie Hull.
Let's break down what really happened here. Caitlin Clark basically saved Lexie Hull's career, and I'm not exaggerating. Clark's impact on Hull was huge. Her vision on the court is unlike anything anyone has ever seen. She makes passes that have defenders looking lost, like they've just missed a magic trick. And suddenly, Lexie Hull, who was barely even noticed before, had a real shot to make an impact on the court.
And at the beginning of the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end. So trusting that, I was staying ready, putting in the work so that when I did get the minutes out on the court, that I could take full advantage of them. So I was just really proud of myself for trusting the process and staying the court.
It wasn't just about passing the ball. Caitlin Clark saw something in Lexie Hull that others missed. While others might have seen someone struggling, Clark saw a player with untapped potential who just needed the right guidance. And that's exactly what she gave her. Clark started encouraging Hull, constantly lifting her up. That "you've got this" talk wasn't just empty words, it was a real confidence boost. Suddenly, Hull wasn't playing like someone who might be forgotten. She was playing with purpose, playing to win.
The basketball part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player likely from their high school team. So it's just this mishmash of the best basketball players, and then you're playing against people that have been there for years and years.
And it was clear as day. Once Caitlin Clark arrived, Lexie Hull's game skyrocketed. Her shooting percentages? Through the roof. The player who had been struggling to find a role was now hitting shots, moving with purpose, and doing exactly what the Fever needed her to do. No longer stuck on the bench wishing for a chance, Hull was now a legitimate player on the court. And that connection with Clark made it all happen. She wasn't the forgotten player anymore. She was a key part of the Fever's offense, all thanks to Clark's guidance. The team's chemistry changed completely when Clark joined. It wasn't just about plays and strategy. It was the confidence and leadership she brought to every practice and game. For Hull, that was exactly what she needed. Without Clark's support, maybe Hull's career would have become one of those what-if stories. But with her, Hull's career was revived. And suddenly, the Fever weren't just a struggling team. They were looking at a future full of promise.
So like now it's like, okay, every cut I have, every cut I make, every fast break I run, like I have a real opportunity to get the ball, which definitely like took me a second. And I think it really just took one of those to really get my head around like, oh, she's all the way down at the other end of the floor and she could still make the pass to me down at the block at this end. So, I mean, it's phenomenal.
Clark didn't just come in and make a few shots, though, let's be honest, she did that too. Her impact went far beyond that. She completely transformed the team's energy. Practices became more intense. Players started holding each other accountable. No more lazy plays, no more going through the motions. Suddenly, everyone was in it together, fighting to win. And this wasn't about being nice. It was all about that competitive fire. It lit a huge spark in the team. Fans may have counted them out, but with Clark leading the way, Hull started to feel like she actually belonged in the WNBA. She wasn't just a hopeful rookie anymore. She was a competitor. And trust me, that shift in mindset, it was a game changer.
We were just like sick that we had lost so many games and also feeling like we were better than that.
The Fever quickly became a team that played with purpose. The chemistry clicked, and those sold-out arenas? They weren't just a fluke. As the Fever improved, the fans took notice and began filling the stands like it was a playoff game. But let's be clear, it wasn't just Clark's leadership that sparked this turnaround. Sure, she was the catalyst, but players like Lexie Hull stepped up in a big way. Hull's role went from, who's that, to wait, she's scoring again? She wasn't sitting on the bench hoping for a shot. She was out there making things happen. Her shooting percentages, which had been all over the place, started to rise. And this wasn't just about making an occasional shot. She was hitting crucial ones when it mattered most. That's how you know a player is on the rise.
She sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game. It's huge. And I think like for me, especially as a point guard and as someone that's delivering a lot of the passes that lead to shots, like if I miss, she's definitely going to say like, you got the next one. Like I can count on her for keeping me like confident and positive. So yeah, I think that shows the player.
Now, let's dive into Lexie Hull's personal redemption story. This wasn't about luck or wishful thinking. Hull worked hard to turn things around. The Olympic break was huge for her, but not just because she got some time off. The Fever used that month to focus on skill development, and for Hull, that meant non-stop shooting drills. The whole team was tracking shooting percentages every day, and little by little, Hull's numbers started to improve. She was putting in the work, and the results were real, not just numbers on a sheet. By the second half of the season, Hull wasn't just a role player.